Welcome to With You Every Step, the solo travel podcast that explores, explains, and hopefully inspires you to travel the world by yourself. I'm your host, Mishel Lee. This week, I have the best bus driver in Europe. I have Didier Sequeira joining us, and he is a driver. Well, he was a driver with Busabout, and now he was with Contiki in this last summer. And he's going to be talking to us about how he got his job and what it's like being a driver in Europe. Welcome, Didier.
Hi, guys.
How have you been?
Just cruising around, driving buses around Europe, nothing much, but the best job in the world.
Yeah. Now, I didn't realize how much of an important job it was until I did the Busabout trip that you drove on, which I think it was Spain, Portugal. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That was Iberian Adventure for Busabout. Don't ask me the year because I think I lost my years.
Yeah, I don't know when that was. It was a few years back now. Now, where are you currently? Where do you live?
Well, I live in Portugal. I have my own place with my girlfriend. But, I feel like I'm a little bit like a gypsy because, I live on my suitcase because I go to do some trips and then I come back home and then back again on the road and then back home. So I'm a little bit all around.
Yeah, and how did you get the job to start with when you first started working as a bus driver?
Well, that was fun. That was back in 2013. I was an electrician before a big rise in Portugal come, and then I got without job. And then my uncle, he was a bus driver around Europe a long time before me, and he saw me on that position, going crazy and looking for a job. And he asked me if I wanted to be a bus driver around Europe. And I told him, are you out of your mind? I'm not able to drive a big car like that. Mm. But why not give it a try? So that's what I did. I applied for Busabout. At the time, I actually applied for Contiki first, but because they are both the same company, and at the time they had many drivers, they put me with Busabout. And yeah, the adventure started. In 2013, I became a Busabout trainee, what we call the first year drivers. We did go for a big training trip around Europe, so close for 50 days, where you are on a bus and you drive around Europe. You learn how to drive and you learn all the places where we have to go, and we have all the guides with us to learn all the places as well and what to say about. That's how it started.
Did you have to do a special course to learn to drive the big buses? Because these are huge buses. How many seats do they hold?
57.
Yeah, they're massive buses.
To become a driver, to become a bus driver, we don't have to do, well, you have to a special license. So you have the car license, and then you have the truck, and then you have the bus license. Mm-hmm. So you have to do that, but it's not something really, really special. But once you want to become a Busabout driver or a Contiki driver, you have to go through a 2-month training trip. And that means you already know how to drive, hopefully. But then we have to drive a certain way that the company wants, so we do checks in the morning to see if the tires are good, if the coach has while, all this, different like safety first.
Yeah.
So we do a big training, and then because we go through all Europe, and on my first years we didn't use GPS at all, so we had to go with some notes on paper and just cruise through the cities, the big crazy cities of Paris and busy city of Madrid, Barcelona, all these crazy places where we have to go, and beautiful places.
And get a big bus into such small streets as well.
Yeah, but that's the love, that's what we like to do.
Yeah. After you do your, 2 months of training, and then you go out by yourself and you do your first one by yourself?
Yeah, so that's the more complicated day, because I think my legs was shaking so much, that I thought I would not be able to press the gas or brake. But yeah, and then once you finish your training, you are by yourself. You know, they give you a sequence for the month or, you know, for a week, and then give you a bus full of people and let's go.
Mm. And like you said, that you didn't have a GPS. So how many times in your first year were you getting lost? Was it happening a lot?
I didn't go lost a lot. I don't know. Maybe my notes were really good, you know, because I was scared to get lost. I got lost maybe, I don't know, 3, 4 times. I don't know. Like, I don't call it get lost because if you get into a city and you just drive one way all the time, you're not going to know the rest of the city. So sometimes I was doing on purpose to go different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that was a good job. Sometimes it was like, okay, let's reverse like, I don't know, 5 kilometers and, you know, do a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember being amazed at how good of a driver you were because it is a huge bus. And I remember you were getting it into all kinds of positions. And I thought, how are you getting it in here? And you were so good at it. And not once did I even question if we were going a wrong way or doing the wrong thing. You were so confident with it.
Thank you for that. I think it just, I don't know, drive for me is very important. Like at home, I always want to drive. If I go out with friends, I can private myself to not drink. And then just because I want to drive and just because confidence is big when I drive, I like to drive. So I know I can do it. So with the buses, I was just, the first impact was like, yeah, this is big. But then because you can do it, you will feel more confident and you will feel more proud of yourself because, yeah, that's a 30 meters car.
And what was it that you started to enjoy about being a driver for these companies?
Well, at the beginning, I was very shy. I still a very shy person. At the beginning, you know, it was very hard because I started and I couldn't speak any English. You know, that was just like yes and no. And well, if you remember back at the time when you did the trip with me, probably I couldn't speak that much English that
I thought you were
now.
pretty good. No, yeah, you have improved, but I thought you were pretty good at the time.
Yeah, at the time I was just smiling and driving and be happy because I could take people from A to B and without accidents and without getting lost. But then I started to improve the English and understand what the travelers were saying to me. And I started to enjoy what makes me enjoy this job is I start to enjoy to make people having the best time of their lives because Contiki and Busabout is more Australians and New Zealanders coming to traveling. And you guys do such a big trip on a plane to come overseas and come and visit different cultures and try to learn a little bit of history and, you know, have a lot of fun and be able to give you guys that feeling, you know, to help you guys to have that feeling for me is the job done, you know. Having someone to, you know, looking at the Sagrada Familia and look at it and smile and say, wow, that was on my bucket list. So helping these people to have a great time for me is the more important. And of course, driving because I just love it.
I remember that trip. For me, it was definitely one of my best tour trips that I have been on. The guide we have, she was fabulous, and you were so good as well that you did make the trip really enjoyable for everybody. You both did. And I think that had a lot to do with why I liked it so much and why it's up there and why I think Busabout is such a great way to get around Europe. Can you explain a little bit about how Busabout works? Because it's not just you do a tour and you go on there and you stay with it the whole time. It's a bit of a different system as well.
Yeah, Busabout is in my opinion, is a really a brilliant idea of traveling, such as Contiki, you know. But so these two companies, they are part of Travel Corporation, and this is a massive tourism area company. So Busabout and Contiki are the same company, but then it's like the same to have a brother and open the same company, but then you guys have to work different ways. Yeah. If you work the same direction, you know, you're going to be fighting with your brother. So Busabout is more like an hop on hop off. So everyone knows that, you know, yellow or blue or red buses around the cities, that they take you around the city and they stop and you take some photos and then you keep going. So this is a hop on hop off bus. Busabout is the same but around all Europe. So You go from Paris to Bruges, to Amsterdam, to Berlin. So you go around all Europe by yourself or with friends, and you stop in the cities where we go with the bus, and you decide by yourself if you want to stay there for 2, for 4, for 6, whatever nights you want to do. You can stay on the city, because 2 days later, there will be another bus coming, so you can catch that bus or just wait for 4 days later or 6 days later, and that's the main product of Busabout. And then they have the trips as well. That's like you did in Portugal and Spain. They have Iberian Adventure for Portugal and Spain, and then they have up to North Candy Baltic, the North countries, and then they have down in the Balkans. So they have trips as well. And on these trips, well, it's like a group. No, you don't know who is going to travel with you, because Busabout is more for independent travels. But then by the end, everyone knows each other. So that's like a group that you put on a 13-meter bus. And then by the end, everyone knows each other. So it's like a group, a tour group. But the main product of Busabout is independent travel, is a hop on, hop off.
Yeah, the hop on and hop off it's a great idea, and it's a really clever way for solo travelers to be able to travel Europe, and it's not super expensive. I remember when I was looking through Europe and what I was going to do, and I only had a very short amount of time, and I really wanted to do Spain and Portugal. And then I found that tour and went, wow, there's so much in such a short amount of time. And the budget was great. And I went, yep, let's do it. Sometimes, though, being a lower budget, you think, oh, it's a risk. Normally, low budget is not the best. It was by far one of the best tours I have done for the price. Yeah. It was so good. There was so much included. The hostels, what I really liked about them, I had paid extra for my own room, which is something that I quite often do. And I suggest if you don't like to travel with people, that's a good thing to do. I had done that, and thinking that the hostels weren't going to be the best quality, every hostel that we stayed in was great. They were above what I was expecting, and they were right in the middle of the city. I remember there was a couple of times where the bus couldn't go so close to the actual hostel, and we had to get out. And I don't know if you remember, but I had my big suitcase.
Big suitcase. Yeah, it's not just you.
Yeah, and so I had to get it over the cobblestones, which is not the easiest. A backpack probably would be easier in that situation with Europe, and there's a lot of cobblestones around everywhere. But yeah, that was the only problem I had, which is not a big problem at all.
Yeah, for traveler with Busabout, because Busabout always looks for accommodations, right in the center, because the buses cannot go very close sometimes, so they try to get close as possible. But the more important is accommodation, because if you're going to stay for 2 nights or 4 nights, you have to stay closer from the city, because the Busabout is just your way to get there, and then au revoir. You may be going to see the bus again in 2 or 3 or 4 days. So that's the difference with Contiki, because with Contiki you are on a group and you can stay on your own room as well. But with Contiki you are on the room, so sometimes we don't really need to stay on our accommodation that close from the city, because then the bus will take you later on into the city, and with the group we explore a little bit more. So the difference is on Busabout you travel more as an independent travel, as a backpacker. And then in Contiki, you are like a group, what is really fun as well, because at the beginning, you don't know anyone. And then by the end, you have made a group of good friends, or like even family,
How many people can do a Contiki tour? Like, how many fit on that bus? Is it the full 57?
Yeah, the same. Yeah, 57, yeah.
Wow, that's a big group. I've never been in a tour group that's that big. Have you had situations where you've had some issues because there are so many people?
Yeah, well, it's with groups is hard, because it's 50 plus people. We are not all the same kind of person, and that's, thanks God we are not, because otherwise it would be super boring. And then because I could go along with you, but I not go along with another person. And sometimes on a group you have like a little group here, and then another little group, and then another little group. And that sometimes makes it really hard for us, the team, to work, because, you want to please everyone, but at the same time, it's really hard to please everyone. But then if at the end of the trip, everyone is happy and you have a good feedback, that's because you have done a really great job. But yeah, we had a lot of situations that, people are complaining, oh, I don't like that person, or I don't want to stay with that person. It's the hard part of the job, but we try our best.
So do you just handball that to, sorry, that's an Aussie term. Do you just pass that over to the guide, and that's the guide's responsibility to deal with all of those things?
Well, we try to help much as we can, the guides, but, the guides are trained for that more than us, like drivers are more trained to drive. And then with the experience, you kind of forget about how do I need to drive, and you start to, be super freedom with the bus, and you already know the bus, so you're not very scared. And then you try to start helping more the guide, and that's when a driver is good, because he's doing two jobs at a time. He's helping the guide, not going over him, because he's doing his job, and the driver is paid to drive. But it's good when the driver can help, situations, because if in a group you have two different groups, the driver gonna stay a little bit with this one today, and then the other one the next day, and then the guide can change as well. So it's like a teamwork. The guide is the person who commands everything. He says, guys, we're gonna do it this way because I want to do it this way, or we have to do it this way.
Yeah, I remember going out for dinner, and I found it really helpful because obviously Spain and Portugal speak different languages. And I know when we had crossed over into Portugal that it was much easier for you to order all of our dinner for us.
Yeah, but we at the time we were lucky as well, because we had Marisol, and she was amazing. Yeah, she was a super guide as well, and she could speak Spanish and understand very well Portuguese.
Yeah, it was great. It was really handy. But what happens in those situations? Obviously, you go around to lots of different countries where you can't speak the language as well. How do you find that?
I don't know. That's the more funny part. You try to communicate with people that don't speak English, or or you yourself. You don't speak much English, and you speak with your hands. You have to be a little bit like Italians. You speak with your hands, and you try to go around. That's the good stuff. Different cultures. You have to try it, and then you have to go along. But yeah, sometimes it's hard because you have a big day, and then everything you want is just get there, have everything planned correctly, and then you get into a hotel or a hostel, and then it's a big mix on the rooms, and then the guy that has to work out with someone at the reception that doesn't speak like 100% English, and that makes hard day.
Yeah, and so what parts of Europe have you, actually I should ask you more, what parts of Europe haven't you been to? Because pretty much you go through the whole network of Europe, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I haven't done Russia, and I haven't done the Balkans. That's it.
What part do you mean, the Balkans?
So Montenegro, Albania, all that, the southern part of Europe, like near Italy, the Balkan area.
Yep. So have you been through Croatia?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
So how far I have go was Croatia and Slovenia.
Yeah, I really want to do, next time I head to Europe, I want to do the Busabout one that kind of goes through, I think it starts maybe up in Vienna or somewhere, and then goes kind of around. I can't remember what the name of that tour is. And then you finish down in Croatia.
It's like an Eastern track trip. Yeah, it goes all the Eastern countries areas. So, Montenegro, Serbia, Albania, Macedonia, finishing Croatia.
Okay, so you haven't driven that one yet?
No, I have took the ferry to Greece. I have drove a little bit in Greece, but not like Albania, Montenegro, Serbia. Okay. I haven't done these places yet.
Yeah, all right. Oh, gosh, brings back so many memories. It was such a good trip. I really loved it, and it makes me want to buy a ticket and go and do another Busabout trip around Europe. I highly recommend it if you haven't done it. Yeah, totally. It's so good.
Yeah.
And have you got some good stories for me? Because surely you would have some good stories. How many tours do you do in a season? Like, how many trips, should I say? How long are you away in a season?
Well, with Busabout, I was away from home for 9 months. Okay.
9 months.
Because when I started Busabout, I was only like a driver, and then I'm a kind of person that likes to grow up in what I'm doing, and then I become a driver trainer. So all the training that I have passed through, I have to do it to to the new drivers. You know, I have to teach them how to do it. So my season used to start very early in February and then goes all the way down to October. And then sometimes I used to do Christmas and New Year. Yeah, so it was like a long time away. So I can't really tell you how many trips I have done because I have done a lot of trips.
So I guess the downfall for that then is how much you're away from your loved ones.
Yeah, that's the hardest place, the hardest moment, you know, because you drive so much and you share so many funny moments with different people that you don't know, but then you stay away from your family and you start missing home. I don't know, we just have to, I don't know, I'm young and we just have to work and I don't know, it's a hard part. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back. Do you have some good stories for me?
I have a lot. I was trying to think in some, and I have a lot of crazy moments with people, you know, people that get lost, people that get really drunk. This is the fun, you know, because people come and, because that's like such a different culture that people come and enjoy, because I believe that Europe is a little bit more freedom than Australia, you know, with regulations, especially with alcohol and stuff. So people, when they come here, they get crazy, you know, and all the crazy stories and funny stories always come from like a good night out. So I have, for example, people getting, you know, not really smashed, but like happy, and then, you know, because you have to walk all the way down back to the hostel or you have to take a taxi. For example, this guy that got lost and he doesn't really remember what happened. I remember this guy dancing on his knees on a club, and the security guy was like, come on, man, you can't go that crazy. And, you know, he just wanted to have fun. He disappeared, and then we couldn't find him for 3 days.
For 3 days?
Yeah, we had to go because, you know, people have paid for the trips, and you were supposed to stay there for 2 days, and we didn't hear from this guy for 3 days. So he didn't come on a bus to leaving the city. That was Krakow. So he didn't come on the bus, and myself and the guy were like, what happened to this person? Like, what? Where is this guy? And this guy was his first time in Europe, and it was his first time having holidays. And the first thing he told me when we started the trip is like, Didier, I want to have the best time of my life. I want to see as much as I can of Europe. And I was happy to help him, you know, and I believe he really had fun because he disappeared. We couldn't contact him. His phone was always off. And then we got a phone call from the office because, of course, when he disappeared, we had to call the office and explain the situation. And then 3 days later, we got a phone call from the office saying, okay, Didier, don't be worried. This guy is alive. This is the more important thing. But he says that he fall in love with Poland and he doesn't want to go back on the bus and he wants to stay in Poland forever. This guy probably found his love, or he just fell in love with the country. And
I was thinking he was in jail. I'm thinking he's definitely been arrested.
It happened before as well, you know, it happened. But this one's, you know very fast when people get in jail because they normally say, oh, I'm traveling with Contiki or I'm traveling with Busabout. These countries, these cities already know us very well. So they get in contact with the office and with us very, very quick. These ones are the fastest ones that we can find. The crazy ones are that one that, you know, you just don't expect them to run away and disappear.
So if people are going to do it and they fall in love with a human or the country, just let the company know.
Yeah. Just please text us and say, all right, guys, we are good. We're just gonna stay. You know, it save us a lot of nightmares. You know.
Yeah, a lot of stress. Can I ask you? I don't want you to mention names, but why were people getting arrested? Is it just for being drunk and disorderly?
Yeah. Well, so nothing against Australians. I love you guys very, very, very much. Thank you for all your love for me as well. But you guys go crazy, so hard, crazy. And then sometimes they want to fight with everyone. And I had very good friends, boys. They tried to fight policemen, and that was not a good idea to do it.
And what country was that in? Do you remember? Because I'm assuming some countries are a bit more strict than others.
Spain, that was Spain, and Spanish police are not really friendly. You know, they Spanish people, they don't really like to speak other language that not Spanish. So it's really hard for a not Spanish speaker to get in trouble because they're not going to speak with you on your mother language if you don't understand. Just have to do what they say otherwise. So these boys, they got in prison till the company tried to help them, well, by the end of the day everything was all right, but yeah, they got really drunk and they tried to fight the police.
Yeah, I actually remember that on the trip that I was on, that you were on, that there was a bunch of guys and they were drinking so much, and I was a little bit older. They were very early 20s and possibly their first trip, I'm assuming, and they were drinking so much. And I remember looking at them and thinking, how are you even doing this? They drank so much. And I remember you saying to me, you Aussies go hard. And I went, I like to have a drink, but I know my limits. But I also am a little bit older than what they were, and it wasn't my first trip. But yeah, I do agree that Aussies can go hard. And I think a lot of people, if you're not Australian and you've travelled and you've come across Australians, you've probably come across them in a bar while they've been drunk.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not all Australians, of course. And I don't judge these people, you guys you come around, you fly.
They're on holidays,
you
yeah.
Smile. They're on holidays, that's it, Be careful with yourself. That's what I normally say. But enjoy your life, just it's like one shot, make it count.
So when you're driving and you're on these circuits, do you get time off at all?
Yes. So in Europe, drivers cannot drive more than a certain days. Okay. So we have very, very restrict regulations. We drive for 6 days and then we have to stop for, 1 day or 2 days. Depends on, what you have done before. Yeah, we have very, very restrict regulations. So we have to have time off to, it's like a safety first. So the driver has to rest. So the same, if you remember, like we used to drive from A to B, and in between we used to stop to have a break, and the break is good for you guys to use the toilets and have some food, but it's also for the driver, for his regulations to have a break. It's tired to drive. It's not easy. Some people think that it's just easy, but at certain point when everyone is sleeping and you look at the mirrors and everyone is like pass out, and sometimes your guide is pass out too, and you're just by yourself, and you still have like 300 kilometers to go. We don't want people to, have accidents because they fall asleep. So we do breaks, and that's the regulations in Europe are very, very restrict.
Yeah. And on those days off that you have, do you go and do your own thing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, myself, I go and I try to find a good place to eat, because it's very important for me to find a good place to eat. If it's near the beach, I try to go to the beach more faster as I can, because that's something that I really miss from my hometown when I'm around is the beach. Yeah, I go around and I try to know a little bit more history about the places, because sometimes you have time off and you have travelers that have time off too. And it's good if you have some knowledge to share with them. So it's good when you're by yourself. If you can go and discover a little bit the town, and then next time you will be with travelers, you can give them a little bit of your experience.
Do you have certain cities in Europe that you don't like driving in?
Yeah, like when I say don't like, it's just because it gets really hard, because as you say, it's a big bus, and normally cars and motorbikes don't get that. They think we can just push the button and it gets smaller like them and just go through everything. Paris, for example, it's a nightmare for all the drivers. Not that I don't like the city. I love the city. It's beautiful, but it's just chaotic to drive, like it's many cars, many bikes, and many buses as well. And sometimes we get into a point that's like, please, I just want to finish. And sometimes to do, 10 miles, it took us like 45 minutes because the traffic is massive. Italy, I used to say I love to drive Italy, and it's funny to see them drive, but by the end of the day, when you have a big day, you are really tired. So Italy, all the cities in Italy are crazy. And then in Paris, Paris are very particular drivers.
From my experience, I thought the south of Italy was way more chaotic than the north part. The north part of Italy didn't seem like there was that much chaos, but as soon as you got kind of close to Rome and down south, I just remember sitting there thinking, how is anyone driving here? It was insane. Yeah. There was mopeds, bikes, everything. And there was, and I think actually at one point, the bus that I was in there ended up in a car accident and someone else had hit the bus. They'd run into the side of the bus. And I don't even think we stopped. I think they were just like, oh yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, it is quite crazy to drive down south of Italy, you know, because that's a true part of Italy. All the mafias and all the la bella vita, you know. So you have to just let it go, follow the vibe. Yeah, it's a lot of people down there, and Italians are just like that, you know. Rules, as we used to say, rules are made to break them down, you know. And they just don't really care about if that is a sign or if there's a red light. So yeah, it is really crazy down south of Italy.
Have you had any car accidents or bus accidents, I should say?
I myself, no. I was once parked, and then one lady, I don't know, maybe she was a bit asleep or something. She wanted to come from the parking, and she reversed into the bus. Mm-hmm. The bus was already parked. I was loading people bags, and she just reversed into the bus. That was the only problem that I had.
Yeah, and I also remember you would get up very early in the morning and clean the bus, so the bus was always spotless. And I'm talking about the outside, which is not an easy job to do because it is a huge bus.
Yeah, but you know, when you go to a shop and you buy some shoes, you want people to look at them and be like, oh, nice shoes. So that's what I have as well, the feeling, you know, with my bus. You know, I want the other drivers to look at the bus and go like, wow, that bus is, you know, it's clean, you know.
Nice
that
bus.
Guy likes his job, you know, nice bus, you know. And of course, because you guys deserve it, you have paid so much to travel around. You don't deserve a dirty bus, you know. It's not because it was raining. Of course, you're not going to clean when it's rain, but the next day, yeah, it's not raining. Let's clean it again. And inside, every day, you remember that big windows that, you know, you take photos from that windows. So they have to be clean. Otherwise, you will have many marks on your photos, and then you go back to Australia or whatever, you know, America, Canada. You go back, and then you have all these photos that don't look nice, and then you cannot share with your friends. Mm. It's part of your job, you know. Some drivers really like to do it. Some drivers are more chill out. But you know, we are not the same. We are very different people, everyone.
Is there a lot of Australian drivers that go over and drive for the companies that you drive for?
It used to, but now it's more complicated because of regulation. So they have to have a European passport to drive. Back on the time before, or even when I started, yes, they was many Australians, New Zealanders. And now it's more Europeans because you have to have the passport. Yeah.
Okay, so that you need a European passport to be able to drive. Okay. Is there any other things if someone wants to be a driver, what they need to know?
Well, first of all, this is the best job in the world, in my opinion. If you think people work for money, of course, yeah, to live. God help these ones that they work for money and then they work in something that they really like. If you come to work in a company that's going to pay you to traveling, what else do you want? You know, you're just going to travel around Europe or, you know, whatever, in Africa, and then you're just going to get paid for, meet new people every single day. I think that's a really good job. So this is the point number one, you know, if you are bored and home at the sofa, you don't have a job, yeah, come over. If you have a passport, come over, join us. To get the job, as I say, you have to go through a big training. It's not always easy because sometimes you get drivers that they have already some experience how to drive, but that's not what we want. We don't want you to do to use the mistakes that you have learned already. We want you as a fresh driver. You know, we accept everyone, but we want you as a fresh driver, and that's the way we want you to drive. The rest is just, you know, enjoy the job. It's long hours behind the wheel. It's a lot of people that really appreciate what you do. It's a lot of people that, you know, you are just a driver or a guide. But by the end of the day, I met so much people. I believe I can go to Australia in just every
and not pay for accommodation. You'd have somewhere to stay everywhere.
That's true as well.
That's the best thing about traveling. You meet people and then you get to be able to say, hey, come and hang out at my place. And they're like, awesome, free accommodation. I've done it many a times and it is really good. But yeah, absolutely. You'd probably be able to go all over Australia with the amount of people that you would have met.
Yeah, that's true. It is unbelievable, the people that you have met. And for me, it was so good because, well, I couldn't speak any English, and I speak, and I have met people, and I go all the way around Europe. So it's amazing.
Do you have some favorite places in Europe that you love to go to?
Yeah, number one is Amsterdam.
Really? I haven't been to Amsterdam.
Beautiful city, like really, really beautiful city. The people, the vibe, they are so nice people. They speak many languages because they are very, very intelligent people, and the people look really nice. You know, they dress very well. The men's, the women's, and it's just like a very polite city. And there's a lot to do. There is a lot of story as well. Barcelona, people love Barcelona, as you guys said, Barcelona. It's an amazing city as well. You know, very hot. A lot to do. Sagrada Familia still getting me crazy, you know, haven't finished. They never will finish, in my opinion, but it's amazing. It's a lot to do, a lot to see. Copenhagen, north of Europe, amazing place, beautiful, more quiet, but people are very, very nice. And then, of course, you know, Switzerland is like a different continent in the middle of European continent, you know. Switzerland with all different regulations, but at the same time with such a healthy country. Everything is so beautiful.
I love that they speak different languages in certain sections.
Yeah, it's kind of confused sometimes, you know, when you are new around and you're like, okay, I'm going to Switzerland, so I can speak French, but then you are in the German area and they don't really understand French. And then you are back Italian part and they don't speak any German or any French. So it's interesting.
I've got a family member, my cousin lives in Switzerland, and he actually speaks all languages. He's quite amazing, plus Croatian, because we're Croatian.
Classic.
And so he speaks everything. It blows my mind. But he said, I always just thought everybody did, because he did, and that's what I've grown up knowing. But he said, no, not everybody does. There are very different, distinct sections, and you can go there and someone won't be able to speak to you. And I went, oh, wow. I just thought everyone could speak everything and thought everyone there was so clever.
It is fantastic. It is a fantastic country. I have traveled many places. I have done, I don't know, millions of kilometers already. I invite you all guys to come to Porto. You know, that's Portugal, you know, the best place. I can't find a place like my hometown, you know.
I didn't get to your hometown because where are you from? What section?
Porto, so like north of Portugal.
Yeah, so we only went to Lagos, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't go to Lisbon. No, I think that was the next. Yeah, we did go to Lagos, yeah. Lagos was beautiful.
Yeah, Lagos is amazing. I loved that. It was a good taste of Portugal. It makes me want to go back and see all the rest of the coastline and come up to Porto.
Please come, yeah. It is more north you go, so we did go to south, that was Lagos. And then more north you go, more the real Portugal you have, because, you know, it gets more, people work more, and then up to the north, people chill out a little bit more, but at the same time they work. And then the food is amazing up north because it's really fresh. And then, of course, you have Lisbon, the capital. It's a lot to do, a lot to see. It's just fantastic. Guys, come over.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and talking about being a bus driver through Europe. I know a lot of people, especially Australians, they'd love to go and work in Europe and they want to do something that is with travel. And if, like Didier said, if you have a passport, go and do it if you love it. But the thing that makes you stand out, Didier, is your passion for what you do and getting up and cleaning that bus and making everyone have a great time. Not everyone has that passion. So I thank you for giving travelers a great time while they're over there, because it doesn't happen everywhere. So if you're lucky enough to get on a bus that Didier's on, you are in the money.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to work like that with so many people, different people as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to With You Every Step, hosted by Mishel Lee. We do hope you enjoyed listening, and if you did, make sure you tell everybody. If you didn't, nobody likes a Debbie Downer. Please subscribe to get up to date with our latest releases and give us a thumbs up on our social media at With You Every Step. We love to hear from you. If you have any questions or inquiries, head to the Contact Us page at our website, michellee.com. That's also where you'll find all our blogs mentioned in the podcast. We love to hear from you, and if we have inspired you to travel, thanks for listening. Love life and adventure on.